or under his player contract unless traded to another team. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
The San Bernardino Freeway is a mess in El Monte. 10 westbound at Garvey Avenue solo crash has taken out the 2 left lanes. You're on the brakes from Grand Avenue. Meanwhile, the left lane blocked on the 10 eastbound at Garvey Avenue because a tire flew over from the westbound side and hit a car. Going to the Riverside Freeway in Anaheim, 2-car injury wreck 91 westbound before Kramer to LaSalle. This is in the number 3 lane, middle lane towards your right. You are busy from Imperial Highway.
Calling all night owls, Buffalo Wild Wings is open late. Fill up on some tasty apps with an ice cold tall beer starting at $4. Late night food and drinks start at $4 from 10 till close at B-Dubs. Limited time at participating locations. Offers, days, and times may vary. Drink responsibly. Void where prohibited. Tax and fees extra.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man. 13 years after the NCAA shut him down and took his Heisman Trophy, former USC star Reggie Bush is hitting back with a lawsuit. Bush is suing the NCAA for defamation of character. Bush has scheduled a press conference Wednesday morning at the Coliseum to discuss his lawsuit. Bush claims the NCAA made false allegations about him in 2021 when the organization announced it was not reinstating his collegiate records or returning his Heisman Trophy. The NCAA reported that Bush had a pay-for-play arrangement when he was at USC from 2002 to 2005. Bush was also accused of receiving improper benefits, including a mortgage-free home for his family. To this day, Bush has not denied that he accepted improper benefits from an alleged USC booster. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
Outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Man, it doesn't show signs of stopping, and I brought me some corn for popping. The lights are turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow.
This is what happens when you have a smart aleck board op who is cute, who's just too cute. Yeah, I know it's August and we're listening to yeah, Miles is my board op, and he outdoes himself sometimes. Why is he playing that? Because we are about to have a conversation right now with David Love, journalist and commentator, about whether or not white conservatives are raising a generation of snowflakes. Get it? But whether or not these white conservatives are raising a generation of snowflakes, hence the music from one Miles Lowe. David Love, good to have you on the program, sir. How are you?
I am doing well, Tavis. It's good to be with you again. I must say, I'm enjoying the music.
I'm glad you're as tickled by his antics as I am. I didn't see that coming. I'm in studio. He's, of course, across the hall. I can see him through this glass window in front of me. But He's in the control room, and I never know what he's going to play until he actually plays. So I didn't see that coming, I must say. But it was cute, Miles. Okay, you earned your paycheck for today, for the week. The other thing I thought about is my mother. My mother loves Christmas music, and it's funny because her favorite season of the year, if she's listening right now, I hope she is. I assume she is back in Indiana. Her favorite season of the year is Christmas, and my mother loves Christmas music so much that she literally will play it year round. I mean, my mother, the Hallmark Channel decided some years ago to do that Christmas in July thing, and they, for a whole month, run all of their favorite Christmas programs, and you can, enjoy it in the middle of the year and get ready for the holiday season coming some days later. My mother was way ahead of Hallmark. She was playing Christmas music throughout the year, long before Hallmark got the idea to do the Christmas in July. Anyway, I'm sure she got a kick out of that, so I digress in that regard. So David Love, and now the audience, I'm sure, is really intrigued about, given the song and my reference to your work, about whether or not white conservatives are raising a generation of snowflakes. For those who have not read your provocative piece, it's a good one. Just give me the top line, sort of unpack the issue that you're raising. Or give me your claim, press your claim for me, sir.
Yes, sir. So, when I refer to snowflakes, I refer to people who are easily offended, overly emotional, and cannot deal with opposing viewpoints and opinions. And, looking at the right, conservatives, Republicans, they always tend to accuse their adversaries, their enemies, of their own worst sins. And I'm looking specifically at the fact that they always talk about people on the left-leaning, liberal, progressive folks as being snowflakes, that we just can't tolerate opposing viewpoints. We're overly sensitive. And yet they are doing exactly the same thing that they accuse us of doing in ways that we could never imagine. And I think that what is going on now with this whole anti-woke scenario playing out, with the banning of the books, with the banning of African American studies, perfect example of how the right are the worst snowflakes of all time, because they're trying to protect their children from the truth of history.
When you use that phrase, the worst of all time, it leads me to ask whether or not this is, in fact, a generational moment, or whether or not the good white folk raising snowflakes have always been what they accuse us of being. Is it generational, or is this perennial?
Well, you raise a good question. I think in many ways it is perennial. I think that right now is the worst that we have seen perhaps in a generation or two. Certainly you can look at the history of this country and how, from the outset, they tried to ban black folks from learning how to read and write. They certainly maintained a particular narrative in their history books that kept us out. And when they included us, it was always as, inferior beasts and the like. United Daughters of the Confederacy, they made sure to, that the history books were crafted in a certain way so as to give a particular narrative of the South, and this glorious cause, and the Confederacy. So yeah, I think that what we're seeing now is another iteration of the same old thing. I think that people. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. Let me just say this. I'll do it when we come forward. What I wanted to ask was, and I will again in just a moment, why in this moment we are experiencing that worst iteration of all time, or certainly the worst iteration, as you put it, in a generation or two. What is it about this particular moment in late modernity, this particular moment in American history? What is it about this moment that's causing us to see the worst of them when it comes to raising a generation of snowflakes. What's that about in real time? We'll talk about that and a great deal more with David Love when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Unapologetically progressive, unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
What does access mean?
Access means owning a home.
Access means growing my business.
Access means building generational wealth.
No matter your goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Programs and initiatives provide the tools and resources to help you reach them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, life doesn't stop when cancer starts. After diagnosis, treatment is vital. But for some, just getting there, to appointments, chemo, or radiation, is a major challenge. You can change that. Volunteer to give rides with the American Cancer Society Road to Recovery program. Driving for a few hours of your day can make a life-saving difference for someone with cancer. Visit cancer.org/drive to learn more.
Extreme heat increases your risk of heat illness and death. Warning signs of heat exhaustion include muscle cramps, headache, and nausea. Signs of heat stroke include a fever of 103 or higher, confusion, and loss of consciousness. Protect yourself by limiting time spent outdoors, staying hydrated, and staying cool in air-conditioned spaces. Learn how to stay safer from extreme heat at heatreadyca.com. Brought to you by the state of California.
What does access mean?
Access means owning a home.
Access means growing my business.
Access means building generational wealth.
No matter your goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Programs and initiatives provide the tools and resources to help you reach them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
So David Love, I was asking a moment ago what it is about this particular moment in American history that is ushering us into this conversation that we're having right now about these white conservatives raising a generation of snowflakes. You said moments ago that we are seeing this. We've seen it before. It's perennial to some extent, but it's never been this bad. So what is it that is so offending them? What is it that is so annoying them that you felt the need to write this piece calling them out for raising a generation of snowflakes?
Yes, well, I think part of it is it's part of a process that started with the Tea Party movement and Republicans basically going to war against the changes that they see in society. Bottom line is that I think that a lot of this is a reaction to the summer of 2020, the aftermath of the George Floyd murder, and seeing millions of people protesting in the streets demanding change. And I would also say that this, in many ways, is in their mind the white man's last stand, because they see the demographic changes they see that, already a majority of children in this country are black and brown. They see the writing on the wall, and they decided that they have to reclaim their country. And the way that, they think that they have to do that is by claiming history and trying to change history, because they know that there's power in knowledge. And if they can craft the narrative, they're thinking that they can, disempower us.
Yep. I'm trying to assess what I think, and I want to get your read on this. Trying to assess what I think happens a couple generations from now, when we have Americans who've grown up in a world where they have been sort of protected, shielded from all kinds of truths that at some point they're going to have to deal with. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, I think that at the rate we're going, this country is going to turn into a hot mess, although, you could argue that it is now. But, history is not meant to make us feel good, although, there's certainly some good things there. There's also a lot of bad. I think that the whole point of history is to learn from it so that you can draw from those past experiences, that past knowledge, and solve problems today and in the future. And if we don't have that knowledge of what actually happened, then we can see a lot of disasters coming down the road, and our children will not be prepared to fix them.
Mm-hmm. I something just occurs to me now, and I don't know that I know the answer to this, and maybe in your work and research you have seen something that I have not seen. I try to stay prepared for this conversation, these conversations every day on this program, but I don't get a chance to read everything. But it occurs to me in this debate about what's being taught and what's not being taught, and what's being banned and what's not being banned, et cetera, in this moment that we are in, have you seen any commentary? Have you seen any statements coming from the historians in this country? I mean, there are all these professional groups. You got doctors groups and lawyers groups and, all kind of groups for academics, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm just curious as to whether or not you've seen, broadly speaking, any kind of serious commentary from the nation's historians about the dangers of what we are enduring and encountering in this particular moment.
I have seen some individual historians, particularly historians who look at the rise of fascism and authoritarianism. I've seen a few here and there sound the alarm, but in a broader sense, I have not seen historians. I have not seen professors really speaking out on this in the way that they should. There should be outright, movement, protests everywhere on the part of historians and other faculty, professors.
Yeah,
it's not there.
I raised that because it seems to me that there is a danger. There's a danger, as you've already laid out in this conversation. There's a danger in witnessing this generation of white conservatives raising, as you put it in your provocative piece, a generation of snowflakes. That is a danger unto itself. We've sort of unpacked that. But I'm pivoting to something different here now, which is the danger that this democracy, or as I prefer to call it, this experiment in democracy, the danger we face when people dismiss the fascism and the authoritarianism as politics. I've said a few times already, of course, on today's program, we all know that tonight there's the big debate, the first debate of the political season, 8 Republicans on stage. And again, there'll be more of these, of course, as we move through this presidential election season. But my concern is that too many of us are dismissing what's happening in this moment as just partisan politics. The issue that you raise now about fascism and authoritarianism are real, and there are certainly dangers in that. I don't know that the historian community, or for that matter, fellow citizens writ large, have connected those dots. We haven't really turned that corner. We just dismiss it as political theater, but it's far more telling, I think, and far more dangerous than the way we're approaching it. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, it makes a lot of sense. And, those who know better, they are in a position to tell the greater public. Unfortunately, students are not learning this in school the way they should. So there should be, alarm bells going off. I think, unfortunately, there is this idea, and I think that people in the media, people, leaders in society, they have this thing where they're always trying to mainstream this type of phenomenon. They're always looking to normalize what's going on in society. I guess they want to keep the profits going, whatever it is, their own vested interest in the system. It's in their interest to keep that going. But what we're seeing is not normal. And everything cannot be a matter of both sides. It's not an issue of two equal sides, two valid sides. When you see evil, when you see corruption, when you see fascism, Jim Crow fascism, you have to call it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's not being called out. I think we're in the wrong frame. We were talking about this yesterday. Connie Rice, a regular contributor on this program, says all the time, we got to get in the right frame. I think we're in the wrong frame. We are processing this and talking about this to the extent that we are in mainstream media as political theater. But nobody has really put the proper face, the right face on this, which is a conversation really about impending fascism and authoritarianism. As you recall, Joe Biden some months ago used the F word. I'm talking now about fascism, not the other F word. He used that word and caught all kind of hell for using it. And I noted after using, got the pushback, he's never used it again. Now, what's ironic about that and interesting is that the push toward fascism, the push toward authoritarianism continues unabated. But he used that word one time. They smacked him so hard, he sort of backed off of that. And to my mind, if he were more progressive, he would have pushed harder on that. But you note, as I do, that he backed off that word. He ain't used it again since then, David Love.
That's true. And I think the reason why he did that is probably because he still thinks that he can attract some Republican votes. If he's thinking that, I think he's living in a fantasy world. But the days for us being polite are over, because we only get one chance to fix this mess.
Yeah. The other thing that occurred to me while you were talking a moment ago is, and this is the scary part, that it's one thing, again, as your piece suggests, to take on this issue of why the white conservative community is raising this generation of snowflakes and what that means long term for this country and for our democracy. Again, legitimate conversation. The part that I'm thinking about now is this: I don't know how we stop that. I don't know how we make a U-turn here, and here's what I mean. The former Speaker of the House, Tip O'Neill, we were talking earlier in today's program about Kevin McCarthy, the current Speaker, in case you weren't around for that conversation, said in an interview yesterday, Mr. McCarthy did, that when they return, Congress returns from their summer recess after Labor Day, there's a good chance they will proceed with perhaps an impeachment inquiry of Joe Biden. They've been talking about that for a while, but yesterday were his strongest comments ever, that after Labor Day, they may, in fact, when they return, move to commence an impeachment inquiry about or on or against Joe Biden, and as we said earlier, just for being Joe Biden, because clearly there's nothing, there's no there, but they'll start this inquiry to impeach Joe Biden just for being Joe Biden. Put a pin in that. The point I'm making is that Tip O'Neill, Speaker many years ago, famously once said that all politics is local. All politics is local. What concerns me most about this is that Republicans have a laser focus right now on winning school board elections all across the country. Our eyes are agaze. Our eyes are set toward the presidential race, as they should be. Republicans are looking more down ballot. And all across this country, they are aggressively running candidates and winning seats at school boards, literally from California to the Carolinas. And that's where these decisions are made to protect these snowflakes, as you call them, from being offended, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't see anybody really taking that on. That is their agenda, and they're running and they're winning at the school board level all across this country. And nobody, frankly, is really talking about it or paying attention to it, but I raise it to get your read on it.
Yes. I mean, it seems like, for years, the Democrats have always worried about, the presidential elections every 4 years, maybe Congress and Senate, and that's about it. And I think that the Trump era has really shown us that Republicans have played a long game. Mm-hmm. They have focused on the local elections, the state elections, and they have taken power. And now we see the results of it. And, I should also mention, as far as school boards, the reason why I wrote this article was because of what happened in this Conroe, Texas school district, mm-hmm. where they decided to ban posters showing black and white children's hands, black and white children holding hands.
Holding hands, yeah.
They didn't, yeah, and it shows you the extremism that is being implanted into these school boards, and I think that's because people don't or haven't paid attention to these local elections. And if we don't like what we're seeing, we're going to have to take control of these local governments, these local bodies, and turn things around.
I hope you didn't miss the point he just made. Now, I'm out of time, basically, in this conversation, but I hope you didn't miss the point that David Love just made. First of all, let me tell you, you can read his piece at thegrio.com. It's posted there at thegrio.com. Why white conservatives are raising a generation of snowflakes. That's the title. You can find it again at thegrio.com. But the point he just made, as this conversation comes to an end, is worth noting and worth wrestling with, and that is that in Texas, they have now, in this one particular school district, they have banned posters of black and white kids holding hands. Now imagine, as we push toward the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington this coming Monday, August 28th. Just think about that sort of kumbaya moment and King and the I Have a Dream speech and becoming, that speech becoming the most iconic speech perhaps in all of American history, et cetera, et cetera. Just think about that moment back in the 60s, 63 to be exact. Here we are in 2023, and they are banning posters of white and black kids holding hands. That kind of imagery they don't want in the school district. Just imagine that. I digress. Think about it for the rest of the day. Read David Love's piece at the Grio. White conservatives are raising a generation of snowflakes, and then tell me how you process that they are doing away with posters that show any sort of image of black and white coming together, holding hands. I digress for now. David Love, thanks for your time. I appreciate you. All the best to you, sir.
My pleasure. Good talking with you as usual.
Good speaking with you. When we come forward, today would have been Kobe Bryant's 45th birthday. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. But we can protect them from 6 types of cancer. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common, preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The fate of Texas's so-called floating border wall is now in the hands of a federal judge who heard arguments this week. The system of buoys is being blasted by critics.
We have gone for years with every possible warning. None of those warnings have had a significant impact.
Gil Kurlikowski is the former head of Customs and Border Protection under President Obama. Pride Month, Black History Month, and similar months will no longer be honored at public schools in Polk County, Florida. The school board voted yesterday to stop issuing proclamations that celebrate minorities, LGBTQ, the disabled, and others. A board member who voted for the change says regardless of whether there's an official proclamation, the district still welcomes all students. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
The San Bernardino Freeway is a mess in El Monte. 10 westbound at Garvey Avenue solo crash has taken out the 2 left lanes. You're on the brakes from Grand Avenue. Meanwhile, the left lane blocked on the 10 eastbound at Garvey Avenue because a tire flew over from the westbound side and hit a car. Going to the Riverside Freeway in Anaheim, 2-car injury wreck 91 westbound before Kramer LaSalle. This is in the number 3 lane, middle lane towards your right. You are busy from Imperial Highway.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Shopping for new blinds? At Blindster, we offer over 50 different blinds, shades, and shutters at low prices, custom made for your windows, and shipping is free. Shop at home and order 10 free samples of any product before you buy. Blindster.com.
Calling all night owls, Buffalo Wild Wings is open late. Fill up on some tasty apps with an ice cold tall beer starting at $4. Late night food and drinks start at $4 from 10 till close at B-Dubs. Limited time at participating locations. Offers, days, and times may vary. Drink responsibly. Void where prohibited. Tax and fees extra.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man. 13 years after the NCAA shut him down and took his Heisman Trophy, former USC star Reggie Bush is hitting back with a lawsuit. Bush is suing the NCAA for defamation of character. Bush has scheduled a press conference Wednesday morning at the Coliseum to discuss his lawsuit. Bush claims the NCAA made false allegations about him in 2021 when the organization announced it was not reinstating his collegiate records or returning his Heisman Trophy. The NCAA reported that Bush had a pay-for-play arrangement when he was at USC from 2002 to 2005. Bush was also accused of receiving improper benefits, including a mortgage-free home for his family. To this day, Bush has not denied that he accepted improper benefits from an alleged USC booster. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Support comes from Getty, presenting The Gospel at Colonus, a theatrical event under the stars that reimagines the story of Oedipus. Blending Greek myth with Black spiritual practice, the show follows the blinded Oedipus as he seeks redemption after a lifetime of tragedy. Co-produced by Court Theater, conceived and adapted by Lee Brewer, with music composed by Bob Telson. Thursdays through Saturdays this September at the Getty Villa Museum. Tickets available now at getty.edu.
Carson, get back! Hey, I am Jasmine Carson, LSU Women's Basketball National Champion. I had to up my game, and this time I upped my intimate grooming routine too. Venus for Pubic Hair and Skin is the only razor and regimen specifically designed for your pubic area. Featuring a razor with a patented irritation defense bar and a skincare regimen that is dermatologist tested, Venus helps protect your pubic skin from shave irritation. Visit GilletteVenus.com to learn more about the full regimen of products.
Are you looking for a tax preparation firm that understands the unique financial challenges of African American business owners? Then look no more. Wealth Management Financial Advisors can prepare and file your individual and business taxes. They're committed to providing their clients with the best possible service. see how they make the greatest impact on your taxes. Find them at wealthmanagementlb.com or call them at 562-427-8877. That's 562-427-8877.
He's rooting for everybody black. Everybody black. More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now. Right now.
Rolling down Imperial Highway, the big nasty red out of my side. Santa Ana winds blowing hot from the north. We were born to ride. Roll down the window, put down the top, crank up the Beach Boys, baby. Don't let the music stop. We gonna ride it till we just can't ride it no more. From the side bay to the valley, from the west side to the east side. Everybody very happy, 'cause the sun is shining all the time. It's like another perfect day. I love LA.
This has been absolutely beautiful, you guys. I can't believe it's come to an end. You guys will always be in my heart, and I sincerely appreciate it. No words can describe how I feel about you guys. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. God, I love you guys, and I love you guys. And my family. To my family, my wife Vanessa, our daughters Natalia and Gianna, thank you guys for all your sacrifice. For all the hours I spent in the gym working and training, and Vanessa, you holding down the family the way that you have. I can't, there's no way that I can thank you enough for that. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And what can I say? Mamba out.
August 23rd, 1978 marked the birth of a basketball legend whose impact would resonate globally, Kobe Bean Bryant. There you hear his remarks on his last day in a Laker uniform when he went for 60 that night. On what would have been his 45th birthday, I am pleased to be joined now in conversation by veteran sports writer Sean Devaney to reflect on Kobe's enduring legacy on and off the court and to discuss the surge in athlete activism that has reshaped the sports landscape as we know it. Sean, good to have you on this program, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, Tavis. How are you?
Man, if I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I'm doing well. Good to have you on. And I want to just make the most of these few minutes that we have here celebrating the life and legacy of one Kobe Bean Bryant. I don't even ask a question. There is no question to ask. To start this, I'll just say Kobe Bean Bryant, and you will say what?
Just the enduring legacy. It's the World Cup in FIBA is being played starting this weekend, and when I think of Kobe, I think of his role that he was just beginning to really grasp and use in retirement as an ambassador for basketball, and thus as an ambassador for America, and that was something that he took very, very seriously. He knew every time he went overseas that he was spreading the word of basketball, all the good things that basketball can do, for an individual, for a community, and for a society as a whole. And he saw that and he lived that. And so when I see the World Cup, especially in the Philippines, a place that really had a connection with Brian, he visited the Philippines. There's a giant mural of him there. That's something that that's the first thing that pops in my head is what an ambassador he had started to become, and really the NBA lost someone who really could have continued to spread that the more that he was allowed to.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he lived around the world. We know that part of his backstory. He lived around the world, and yet my question now is, what was it about him that allowed him to resonate with folk years later around the globe?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think he had a certain amount of, and it's strange to say when you watch him on the court and you see how he'd act, in terms of interacting with other players. But when he went abroad, I think he had a certain amount of humility, and he brought that with him. I think that was part of his upbringing in Italy. That you learn to appreciate other cultures. You learn to appreciate, sort of what's going on around you, and that everybody has different perspectives. I think he grew up that way, and he would bring that with him when he went overseas. He would bring that outlook and that viewpoint, rather than I'm Kobe and I'm here. It was more asking questions about your culture. Tell me about you and what you guys do. That was something that. If you watched him in the NBA, you might say, well, that wasn't Kobe, but it was when he went overseas, and that's something that people really connected with.
Yeah, I think of the advice that Quincy Jones, the great impresario, gave me many, many years ago, and your comment makes me think of it once again, regarding how Kobe responded and reacted and behaved when he traveled around the globe with humility. Quincy Jones, Q, always said to me, Tavis, everywhere you travel around the world, do three things. Listen to their music, eat their food, and learn a few words in their language, and that will help make you a citizen of the world. It sounds like Kobe learned that lesson early on, having, again, grown up in parts around the globe. Some time ago, you put a book out about Kobe Bryant. You talked to players and coaches and broadcasters and others. Universally, what is their read on the career of Kobe Bryant?
I think the lasting legacy he has is the mindset that he instilled in other players. People talk about the Mamba mindset, and so many people have grasped onto that. And it can be sort of a vague idea, but the players who were around him, who saw the way he approached things day in and day out, that was something that really made an impact. I think of the 2008 Olympics. In Beijing, the U.S. had lost in 2004. This 2008 team was supposed to be what they were calling the Redeem Team. You had LeBron James, who was 23, Carmelo Anthony was 24, Chris Paul was 23, Dwayne Wade was 25 or so. So they're all very young guys at that point. And the first practice, they get there, and Kobe Bryant has been there since 5 in the morning, already working out. Practice was supposed to start at 9. He's already 4 hours ahead of them. And then the first practice scrimmage that they have, I remember watching, this is in Las Vegas, and there was a loose ball, and Kobe Bryant dives for it, and right there, this is Kobe Bryant, he's diving for a loose ball. That set a tone with the rest of those players. And that mentality, that is something that he gave to LeBron James, to Dwayne, who are all great players in their own right, of course, but he really changed them being around them in that Olympic team. And I think that's sort of the enduring legacy, at least on the basketball court, and how he affected the careers of those guys.
Yep. When we come forward, I want to pivot. We've talked now about his impact on other players, the way he was seen and viewed by coaches and broadcasters and others. When we come forward, I want to talk about his connection with the fans, because that's the part about him that always sort of amazes me. It is rare that a particular player has that kind of unique connection with fans around the country and indeed around the globe. And that's what I want to interrogate when we come forward with Sean Devaney, talking about the legacy and life of Kobe Bryant, who would have been 45 years old today. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
MC Light for AARP. Hip-hop, the cultural phenomenon that took New York by storm in 1973, is celebrating 50 years of rocking mics and crowds. Whether you're a ride-or-die hip-hop head or simply curious about its origins, check out the latest issue of AARP, the magazine. It celebrates this incredible milestone with a featured story brimming with fun hip-hop facts and history. Head over to aarp.org/black community to to learn more.
Community is more than where you live. It's the people in it who go above and beyond to help it thrive. During the 50th anniversary of hip-hop and the 75th anniversary of Black Radio, AARP recognizes the members, volunteers, people, and partners giving back to our communities. We believe when our efforts drive change for the greater good, we all thrive together. To learn more about how AARP supports efforts to keep our communities thriving, visit aarp.org/blackcommunity.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here with a quick recap from my time at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. There were speakers Ian Dunlap, Damon John, Lynn Richardson, MC Light, Don Kennedy, to name a few. Take a listen to what Justin Grant, Community Development Lead at Chase's Advancing Black Pathway, let's see what he had to say.
So I'm Justin Grant. I lead community development and national partnerships for JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Pathway strategy. And so we're focused on strengthening the economic foundation of black communities, and we're making targeted investments in programs like the Advancing Black Wealth Tour to help us get our tools and resources out to the community to drive sustained impact over time.
So when it comes to black and brown people, it sounds like Chase is making it their personal responsibility not only to facilitate these events, but to educate and provide resources. So, Mr. Grant, I have to ask, what does wealth building look like for the individual?
It's home ownership, it's having that freedom to be able to start your own business and create jobs in your community, and it's having that long-term plan towards retirement, having that vision for what you want your life to be, and you have the resources to actually live it.
I'm Maisha Cairo. Thanks for sticking around. That was my recap from Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. First stop was here in LA, and they're taking it national.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Continuing now our tribute to Kobe Bean Bryant, who would have turned 45 years old today, where he's still with us. And it's one of those moments for those of us who are Laker fans or sports fans, or certainly Kobe fans. Even if you're not, everybody pretty much remembers where they were when they heard the news that this helicopter had gone down and that Kobe, his daughter, and others had been killed in this helicopter crash. Again, if Kobe were still here, he'd be turning 45 years young today. And who knows what that career, that work and witness might have entailed had he lived just a little bit longer. We were talking earlier, Sean Devaney, about his impact on players, coaches, broadcasters, and others. What say you about the interesting and unique relationship, the absolute adoration that his fans had for him?
Yeah, I think he came into the NBA at 17 years old, and he was brash, and it was clear that he was there to upstage Michael Jordan. That was his goal, and I think what happens in a situation like that is that a lot of people are attracted to the brashness, and a lot of people are turned off by it. It's one or the other, and the more that you're turned off by it, the more that those who are attracted to it are going to defend it and defend it intensely, defend him intensely. And I think that's really something that happened, especially as his career went on and the Lakers were divided between Kobe and Shaq, and you had to sort of pick sides as a Laker fan, which one did you support? And the more you supported one, the more you had to really defend him. And so I think that was something that Kobe Bryant's fans really did as well as anybody. Yeah. And then, as his career, 20 years in the league and all the things that he accomplished, the 5 championships, I think even the people who didn't like him when he was a brash young guy really grew to appreciate him as he got older. So, I think that's some of the driving factors there.
The rearview mirror, obviously, always allows us to see things a little bit differently, perhaps a bit more nuanced. Since you raised it, let me follow you. In retrospect, And there's so many layers to this. It's not a fair question to ask with a minute or so to answer it. But how would you define or describe the Kobe-Shaq relationship?
It was a big brother, little brother. I think Shaq felt that he deserved more respect, that he deserved everything to run through him, and Shaq has since admitted that he fumbled the ball with that he probably should have been more respectful of the talent that Kobe Bryant had, and the need that Kobe Bryant had to display that talent, and did not want to stand on the outside and throw the ball into the big guy and then stand around and watch. That's not what Kobe Bryant came to the NBA to do, and really those two butted heads. There was a lot of personal animus between the two, but it was mostly on the floor. It was mostly just that they had different styles of play, and they didn't want to make them mesh, and that's sort of where that stood.
Yeah, I always felt for Kobe in this regard. To your point earlier, and everybody knows this, Kobe was so dedicated and so committed to being the best player he could be, and Shaq comes to camp pretty much every year out of shape. And you got to go halfway through the season for Shaq to play himself into shape. And, obviously the championships speak for themselves, but you wonder how many more championships they might have won had Shaq come to camp dedicated, committed, and in shape in the way that Kobe did, and not have to spend, 42 games trying to get to that point. And I can only imagine, we know a bit about this, the ways in which Kobe was frustrated by that. And yet I take your point about that big brother, little brother relationship. And again, they accomplished a great deal together. Our remaining moments talking about Kobe Bryant with Sean Devaney when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
What does access mean?
Access means owning a home. Access means growing my business.
Access means building generational wealth. No matter your goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Programs and initiatives provide the tools and resources to help you reach them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, life doesn't stop when cancer starts. After diagnosis, treatment is vital. But for some, just getting there, to appointments, chemo, or radiation, is a major challenge. You can change that. Volunteer to give rides with the American Cancer Society Road to Recovery program. Driving for a few hours of your day can make a life-saving difference for someone with cancer. Visit cancer.org/drive to learn more.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it. Together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Just 4 minutes left here. 4 minutes left in conversation with Sean Devaney about the life and legacy of one Kobe Bean Bryant, who would have turned 45 years old, 45 years young. We're talking about Kobe, 45 years young, where he's still alive today. There are a number of great books that Sean Devaney has written. I should mention right quick before I close this conversation. His one coming out later this year that I am anxious to read is called Steph Curry, Life Lessons from a Legend. That drops later this year. But some other great books already out from Sean Devaney. The History of the NBA in 12 Games. That's a good one. Before Wrigley became Wrigley. A lot of books from Sean Devaney. But the one dropping later this year that everybody's waiting on is called Steph Curry, Life Lessons from a Legend. But we're talking in this moment about Kobe Bean Bryant having... who would have been 45 again today, where he's still with us. Let me close on this note. I got just a few minutes left here, Sean. As I said a moment ago, I've often thought over the years since Kobe's tragic passing about the following. I say this all the time: that some of us is not the sum of us. The SOME of us is not the SUM of us. Some of us is not the sum of us, and none of us wants to be judged by the SOME. We want you to view our lives in sum total, not certain parts of our lives. You see where I'm going with this? There was a point in time when I was afraid and thought that the uglier, less savory sides of Kobe's life, the drama that he got himself into, I thought that might at some point diminish his legacy. I have the same concerns about my hero, Dr. King. The more these FBI files come out, a lot of that stuff is nonsense and untrue, but there's always this concern one has about whether or not the ugly, whether or not that SOME is going to impact the SUM. You take my point. That hasn't happened as yet, and hopefully never will, with regard to Kobe Bean Bryant, but how do you read that? Why is that not the case, if that makes any sense to you at all?
Yeah, I think that the one of the things that that we missed out on with Kobe is sort of a full accounting of what happened in 2003 in that hotel room, and sort of him talking about that. And I think that would have come. I think that would have come in his retirement. I think, obviously he was a great advocate for his daughter. He's been a great advocate for women's sports. There's in the minds of many that's going to be a bit of a conflict. Now, he never really got a chance to address that and to talk about that. And so I think in fairness, because of that, in the minds of many, that issue is sort of it's been allowed to let lie, and that's probably fair, because I do think that it's something that he would have spoken about, and like you say, to judge him by something that happened when he was 23 years old, and that that the full facts have never been laid out, would be completely unfair, especially with when in consideration of what he did with the rest of his life.
Yeah, I don't know. I hear your point, Sean. I don't know that we would have gotten a full accounting years later for two reasons. One, because of the gag order in that situation. So there's only so much he could ever say for the rest of his life anyway, number one. Number two, once you sort of push past that, move past it, I'm not sure even Kobe wants to bring that back up. I think at most he might have been more apologetic about it had he lived longer. But I don't know if we would have ever gotten a full accounting, but I take your point. His book about Kobe Bryant came out a while ago. It's called Remembering Kobe Bryant. Players, coaches, and broadcasters recall the greatest basketball player of his generation. There's no debate about that. He is the greatest of his generation. That's that book. And again, the one coming later this year, Steph Curry, Life Lessons from a Legend. Look forward to having you back, Sean, when that book drops. But thank you for these remembrances today as we celebrate what would have been Kobe Bryant's 45th birthday. I thank you, Sean. All the best to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Tavis.
More of Tavis Smiley. When we come forward, stay with us.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The fate of Texas's so-called floating border wall is now in the hands of a federal judge who heard arguments this week. The system of buoys is being blasted by critics.
We have